here, we'll discuss some basic statistical definitions. One of the most basic definitions will be that of a variable. A variable will be any kind of characteristic attribute or some kind of number or quantity that we can measure or count. As an example, let's suppose we're going to do a study on college graduates. Some of the possible variables may be what did they major in? That would be a characteristic attribute. Or how much money they're making after graduation? That would be a number or quantity. We might also want to look at something like gender to see if there is a gender divide in college graduates. And we could look at many possible other things. Those would all be variables. Now that we have the idea of a variable, we can talk about data. Data are the actual values that a variable can assume. If we're talking about gender, we could be looking at male, female. If we want to know how much money a college student makes, this could be ranging anywhere from 0 to the highest level of graduate that we have that makes the most amount of money, and anywhere in between. These are just anything that actually could be represented by a variable. A data set is then a collection of many data values. Once we know what our variables are going to be, and we have an idea of the kind of values they can assume, we can start collecting a data set. This is when we actually go out and talk to people and collect that information. And then once we have all of that together, that is our data set. It's also important to know who we are studying and who this situation might apply to. The population is all subjects that are being studied. This is everyone that our particular statistical study actually applies to. If we go back to my example with the college graduates, the population would be all college graduates. However, we could expand that. Maybe we want to talk about all people at the age to be a college graduate, or maybe we just want to talk about all adults. So we could expand the population depending on what we want our actual statistical information to portray. A census is whenever we actually collect data from the entire population. And a census is going to be very rare in statistics. In particular, whenever we do these statistical studies, our population is usually a big number of people. And to collect data from every single one of those would be extremely time-consuming and extremely expensive, and a lot of times very impractical. So instead, we're going to define a sample, which is what we're actually going to be looking at. A sample is a group of subjects that's actually selected from the population. Since a census is often very expensive and impractical, we usually look at samples. So we want representative and unbiased samples. We want it to actually look like the population does, and we need it to be unbiased. And this way, we can look at a smaller group of subjects and then do some statistical calculations to make general claims about the general population. There are also two types of statistics that we can look at. The first is going to be descriptive statistics. This is going to include a large number of different things. Descriptive statistics includes the collection of data, organizing that data, summarizing it, and presenting it. This may include graphs and charts. We may do some small calculations in descriptive statistics, but it's essentially anything that we do to describe what's going on, including actually collecting that data. The second type is known as inferential statistics. We usually tend to do descriptive statistics first and then inferential second. Inferential statistics is where we generalize our data. So now we've looked at a sample, we want to make some general claim about the population. Inferential statistics includes how we go about doing that. It also includes making estimations about the data, testing any claims that we may want to make, and also making predictions about what may happen.